Show body. Welcome to another episode of Body Chronicles. And today we have a very new addition to this community where I'm going to be talking to amazing people about everything teaching, right? As you guys know, me and my better, sometimes worse half started this Body Chronicles YouTube channel to just share our journey around teaching internationally and what goes into it, what it's about, sharing our lives. But more than anything, guys, we started this channel so that more Black brilliant beings start infiltrating in these spaces. And today on our channel, we are gonna be talking to two beautiful goddesses, guys. Like, you know what? They're gonna introduce themselves because I'm gonna start like, fan whatever so hard. Before we get to that, thank you so much for coming back to the old subscribers, to the new subscribers. Welcome to Budget Chronicles. This is the place where we talk all things teaching, working, living, loving, and all of those good things. Please subscribe, please share, please like, please engage. For me, the most important thing is engaging. If you are teaching anywhere in the world and you like to, speak back to experiences, please do share your email address and I will literally link with you because this channel is not just about me and Caesar, it's about us. It is a community, right? So today on the channel, we are going to be talking about a very, 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 very important element of kickstarting your teaching career. And I think a lot of people in our community specifically don't see the importance of kickstarting your teaching career in this manner, and it is a manner of starting as an intern, right? So today we're talking the importance of doing a teaching internship to kickstart a successful teaching career. And like I said, guys, I have two brilliant things right here. We have Coco and we have Nelly, and can they please introduce themselves?
Ooh. No, I'm gonna let Nelly go first because
Okay.
this was
Um,
let
Hi
you take the lead.
everyone. My name is Nelisa Mteta. I am from the northern part of KZN, a small town in Pongola. I have teach like more than 4 years of teaching experience. I started teaching right after my undergrad for like a year. And after that, I went on to do something else. I came back to teaching in 2021 for another year. And then I also taught as an intern teacher at
Ooh.
another school where I was doing an internship for like a year. And I'm also currently teaching as part of my studies. Like I have to teach for credits. Yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Okay.
A very
Oh,
small nutshell because she's being so modest. Guys,
being very
Nelly
No.
is currently doing her PhD in Hungary. I do not know the smart, like, nitty gritty of the internship, and I needed her to speak back to it because it's important. Because this is the idea of teaching is not just being in a classroom, right? And I think that is the beautiful point about this conversation with these two beings, the fact that the three of us are doing such different teaching but it's actually teaching, you know what I mean? And this is like, you guys are gonna get that. But really, please talk to us about what you're currently doing, babes, outside of teaching for credits. You're making it sound like nothing. It's everything, B. It's everything.
So I'm a PhD student in Hungary. As I said, like I have to teach as part of my credits. So I teach like first year students. I teach basics of environmental engineering, ecology, as well as environmental systems. I also have to do research for my research projects, and I work on. Just started like a week ago teaching business English online with this Hungarian company. Yeah, so teaching has been a part of my career since I graduated from my undergrad. So yeah, that's why I'm here to tell you all about the things I know about teaching.
Girl, which is a lot. Like, can
so
people please take out your notepads? Take that notepad. If you are the lazy being like me, take out your recording phone, your recording smartphone, and use it for great purpose. Because you guys are going to be getting golden nuggets for days, okay? Cogs. Are
Oh,
you, girl?
okay. See now, I regret asking Nelly to go first. Maybe I should have just gone
Yes,
first.
I
What do
knew.
you mean?
Girl,
Then
Because
you know
you
what
have
you're
like a lot
doing.
of experience. For me, it's like more than 4 years. For you, it's like you have, I think, more than a
yeah,
decade of teaching
Yeah,
yeah,
experience. So
yes, but not in the traditional sense. And I think that's also part of
that's the
um
beautiful part because
I
you
yeah, okay. So I don't know. So I'm Coco. I studied exactly a bachelor's of education in, well, first I started mathematics and science, and then I moved to maths and English, which is a weird combo, but I'm a math and
it
English
is.
major. I'm in my second year of working in one of the better schools, one of the better private schools in South
Yes,
Africa at the moment.
again.
Um, sure. Okay, I think it broke up a little bit, and yeah, sorry, ladies, I didn't quite catch you there.
No,
I
I'm
hope
just
it's not
saying you
my.
noticed again.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, sorry guys. I think there's something wrong with my connection. It's not doing the right things.
It's not
But
being
yeah.
stable. Mm.
Yeah, so
We can hear you.
what's that?
We
We
can
can
hear
hear
Oh
you.
you
no.
still.
Can you hear
Yes, you
me?
can still continue.
Hmm.
Yes, we can.
Hmm.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's just acting a little funny. Okay. Yeah, so before I came to this particular school for my internship, which I was retained from, I was an academic facilitator in the Greater Johannesburg area. I was a tutor for many schools. I was a blended learning facilitator for another specific school in the Johannesburg area, which is just basically an integration of technology and schooling. I've been an online maths teacher for a while.
A
I
minute.
still am. I still am to this day. And yeah, yeah, I, I work a lot with kids who have learning modalities. So your kids with ADHD, who have dyslexia, dyspraxia, dyscalculia, that's pretty much a big part of
Your
my job
forte.
description. Yeah, and yeah, that's what I do. I help kids who don't like maths, and I make them love maths. That's my
Because
job.
you live for math.
Yeah. She loves math.
Guys, if I tell you that black excellence is amongst us, please believe
No.
me. So
Tell us about your teaching experience before we continue. Like,
I was
Oh,
about to say.
introduce yourself as well. I mean, you introduce
mhm,
your channel and why you started your channel, but tell us about your teaching experience and
mhm.
So everybody, for the people, for the old budders, you guys know I am currently an ESL teacher in a private kindergarten and elementary slash middle school in South Korea. And before that, I was teaching in high school. The old people like us call them previous Model C schools, right?
yeah.
One of the best previous Model C schools in Durban, and I was a business studies, life skills, and dramatic arts teacher. So I taught grade 8 to grade 12. It was in all those schools. And before that, one of the best things that ever happened to me was getting into an internship at a very good, yes, school in South Africa. This is where I met these two queens who are now my sisters. And for that, I'll forever be grateful. So this is why I'm also like, internships don't just bring you a very great kickstart to your teaching career, but they also allow you to build like great friendships, and sisterhood. And that is what came about for us. But before that, guys, I was, while studying as a drama practitioner, I used to tutor as well. I taught critical thinking when I was doing my postgrad studies. But during my undergrad, which was many, many moons ago, I was also a mentor and a tutor. I mean, I would think that I came into teaching as a very, very weird, purposeful calling. I'm putting brackets in it because that's not how I intentionally left corporate life to go into the academic space. I intentionally went back to studying to actually be a performer. And we'll get into that later. But essentially, it's also one thing I'm going to be asking you ladies about whether or not you guys think teaching is a calling. because for me it definitely is. I think I've been in front of people educating and learning for the better half of my life, you know, because even in high school, I was always that girl that's like, guys, let's do like group sessions, and I'll teach you business studies and accounting, and you teach me ecos. You know what I mean? And that is just builds my love for being a lifelong learner. And I think teaching is one of those careers that allow you, if not force you, to be a lifelong learner. And I think if I could just live for learning, guys, that's exactly what I'd do because that's how much I
Mm.
love it. And teaching while learning is an honor for me, and I think I'm grateful to be here basically. Yeah, because this is not about me. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Mm.
So Queens, why teaching? Why teaching? I understand how you got into it, but why teaching specifically? You could have done so many things.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a difficult question for me
It
because
is, yeah.
like I cannot for now I cannot say like teaching is a calling. I feel like I'm drawn to it because I always find myself in that space.
Mm, mm,
'Cause after my honors, I did my undergrad and then my honors right after. So after my honors, I was looking for work like internships in environmental science because that's what I did. But I couldn't get those internships, and somehow an opportunity to teach maths um, came, like maths and math lead came. So I was I took it with both hands. I was like, this is a great opportunity for me instead of staying at home and not doing anything.
yeah.
And then I taught for like a year. I think like while I was teaching, like it made me realize some of the things that I'm not good at.
Mm,
Um, like realize my strength and weaknesses. I think even like the where I was in point in time because I was like, I'm doing this because I didn't get an internship. I think I didn't appreciate even the opportunity or like teaching as a job. So in that way, I ended up like going for an internship right after that. But recently, when I started teaching this, like I think a week ago, when I started teaching English, business English, I realized that it's not that I don't like I like teaching. It's not like I'm not good at it. I'm like it's because I'm comparing myself to other people how they teach and how they approach teaching. So it's like
mm,
I'm comparing myself. That's why I always say like I'm not good at teaching. But I realize that
mm.
it's something that I can do. Um, and looking back, I wish I stuck it out and continued teaching instead of taking it as a way of making money or making a living.
Yeah.
So, but now I feel like I'm drawn to teaching. I'm always going to teach in my life because that's what I realized. Like after my PhD
Yeah.
as well, I was thinking what I'm going to do. Like I would take a teaching job, like because you get a chance to lecture, whether it's part time or whether you do a fellowships for like a certain, like a certain
Institution.
field. So yeah, so I think I'm drawn to teaching. But now why? 'Cause and it also helps you like grow as an individual, and you're
Yes.
also making a difference. Like one of the teachers, like where the first school where I started teaching, sent me like a screenshot of like a WhatsApp like years ago. I mean, after I left the school, and then like they were asking who's your best teacher, and this kid was
Mhm.
like Mr. Mteta, who taught me mathematics in grade 9. It made me realize that I made a difference in that kid's life.
Yeah.
So like the why of teaching is like you know that you're making a difference in somebody's life,
Mm.
and yeah, I'm always gonna be drawn to it. That's what I can say for me
Oh
about.
my gosh. And I don't know why you say you always doubt the fact that you're an amazing teacher, bro. Like you one of the most, like I said, brilliant beings I've ever met. And I think it's a problem for most of us because I know I also had it even when I was in corporate, right? Where you see
Mm,
people in front of you doing things a certain way that you're not
yeah.
familiar with, and you're like, why am I the only one who does not get like the naturalness of how this is
Mm,
done? And I think you're not getting the naturalness because you're looking for the naturalness outside. I mean, when I also started realizing that, you know what, I'm I'm gonna enjoy teaching more when I do it my way was when I was in the internship, right? And I mean, even though as interns, when I was doing my internship in corporate, they tell you that you're at the bottom of the bottom and you receive all the shit from the people on top and it just
Mhm.
gets thrown at you and you just literally get the nonsense work. But when I was doing my teaching internship, like I was given so much responsibility and so much respect, it didn't even feel like I was an intern, right? Because as much as I was being trained and I was learning, I was doing like a lot of teaching as well. You know, when you learn by doing, and it's one of the best
That's
like
really cool.
methodologies I also follow even to date, where the most learner, like the most easiest way for a learner to learn is to learn by doing. And when
Yeah,
I was
experiential learning. There's even like studies around that, like academic
Mhm.
studies around
exactly,
experiential
exactly.
learning. Yeah.
So when I started realizing that it's not about me wanting to look like my mentor because they brilliant and they amazing and I look up to them, but it's about me taking the transferable skills from my mentor and adding in my mutswako, and my vibe so that it then becomes a me thing. And as soon as I started understanding that, then the teaching became easier for me because it was like, no, man, girl, you know what you're doing though. Like, stop it. And I think it
Yeah.
becomes easier when you start having that realization that no, I'm not supposed to look like Coco or to look like Nels. I'm supposed to look like Palesa, and Palesa knows what she's doing. That's why she's in these spaces that she's in.
Mm.
Cokes, what about you,
Oh,
girl?
sure. I want to be humble about it, but I won't.
Don't be.
I won't be humble
Don't
about
be.
it. I love what I do. I'm really good at what I do. I don't know. Teaching is just become such a natural part of what I do. I even wonder, if I hadn't had that thought. I think I was like 20 or something, and I was coming back from the States. I'd been au pairing in the States, and I was playing around. And my parents, like, they were sick of me not going to school. They were like, "You need to come home now." And the plan before I even left home for the States was, "You're going to be an architect." That had been my thing because, well, I said I was going to be a fashion designer, but my dad said no. So that's where we started. He was like, "Ain't nobody paying for that." So I was like, "Fine, I'll be an architect." It's a nice
It's
middle
much
ground.
more professional.
You
Yeah.
understand? Yes. And so when I was in the States, I went to a community college. I did a couple of university courses for architecture. And by the time I got off the plane in back in SA, I was like, "No, I'm applying for teaching." I think I'd really enjoyed the interacting with kids part more than anything when I was in the States as an au pair. And so when I landed, I applied for teaching. Um, I really didn't like being in a lecture theater listening to somebody else tell me what to do. The second we got into actual classrooms, like, guys, I'm a celebrity. I don't know what to call it. I really enjoy interacting with kids. It's I don't know. I don't even know if I can call it a why. It's just part of who I am. I absolutely love the kind of impact, the kind of conversations, the kind of intelligence you draw out of kids when you're sitting with
Yeah,
them in a classroom. Because we don't start from kids know nothing. Kids know something. We're just trying to figure out how to get it out of them. They know a lot, and
exactly,
so
exactly.
yeah, and so my why, I don't know if I have a why. It's just what I do. It's just
Yeah.
teaching is just part of it. Yeah, I don't even like the admin. I don't like anything else outside of
Instead of
interacting
just
with the kids. I'll
kind
be
of,
very
I
honest.
know what you mean. I know what you
Ah,
mean.
I hate admin with
Like,
a passion.
if I could just
That's
get
the
to
part I
sit and
like.
the whole time, I would.
Administrating, preparing for lessons.
Oh, oh,
That's the part I like.
yeah, you see, Nelly, that's
No,
really
like, I mean, preparing your slides, stuff like that.
Ooh,
And like planning your lessons. That's the part I like.
I can't do it.
Voice
Mm-mm.
else, I'm like Coco. Like I don't like the preparing. I think it just takes out so much. But what I do like is when the preparation comes to life. And I'm
Mm.
like, oh my gosh, when I was planning this, I did not think it was going to be this amazing. You know what I mean? And I think that's
Yeah.
what makes me want to do it more,
Yeah.
because teaching is one of those few jobs, if any, where you can literally teach one lesson plan to five different classes and have five different outcomes.
Yeah,
And for me, that
that's
is the
true.
wonder, right? Where it's like, yeah, I'm going to teach all of you about vocabulary,
Mm,
but the class I teach in the first period and the class I teach in the fifth period are
mm.
not going to give me the same answers. And sometimes it's just, it goes from bad to worse. Sometimes it
Uh,
goes from great to bad. Sometimes it's just horrible. Sometimes it's just amazing. And you're just like,
yeah.
I don't, it's like you are in in a sweet shop, and you're just like, okay, which flavor am I gonna eat now? Which flavor am I gonna eat now? Because you
Yeah.
never ever get the same flavor with these kids. And I think
Mm.
that's what I enjoy. Like, that is my why. The fact that I'm forever gonna learn, when I'm in a classroom, when I'm outside the classroom, like when I'm preparing, when I'm coming back and reflecting what happened with my classes, when I'm sitting and I'm like, I wonder what is happening with my students. When I realize that this particular student is progressing from the point at which I had met them to where they are now. And that is one thing where I think teaching is one of those jobs where the progress is seen, and the work that you put in gives out the results.
Mm,
So the more you invest in your students, the more you believe in them, the more you put in the work to prepare, the more you see the results by getting that these kids understand what I'm saying. And what Coco was saying about kids knowing, it's one of those challenges where it's easier for you to start from where they know, so that they can buy into where you want them to go. And I think it's one of the most beautiful things about teaching, that especially as a teacher that understands that these kids are not empty vessels, or these adults or these students, they're not empty vessels. They bring in something to the table, and you need to bring in something to the table, and you guys must just make a beautiful knowledge cocktail. And I think, yeah, that's like the only place for me that I see that come to life on so many different levels every day of my life.
was it Piaget who made the same analogy? Like kids are not just jugs where you have to pour in
No,
water. I think it was Piaget.
it
So
was.
it speaks back to what you were saying. I think it's
Mm,
also important to be a reflective teacher, like you are,
yes.
Alyssa, because sometimes you cannot follow, like you can, like you said, you can teach a same lesson, like same lesson plan, using the same lesson plan to five different classes. But I mean, the way that you teach is not going to be the same, because you
Mm,
have to reflect even during the lesson to see, okay, these
mm,
kids are not getting what I'm trying to say, so maybe I should try
mm,
this way and that way. So
mm,
that's the beautiful
mm.
part about teaching. Yeah.
Exactly. And like the flexibility that comes with it. So, ladies, like with regards to like internships, right?
Mm.
Do you guys, because I mean, for me, it's a definite yes. Um, do you, or would you advise your third year, fourth year, um,
PGC.
education student who's at this particular point in time doing distant learning? Because for me and you, Nels, we were lucky when we started, it was still just after COVID, so we could still like do
Yeah.
full-time learning while we still did online, right? But for now, one of the disadvantages of internships, maybe we'll talk about it later on as well, is that you have to be at that particular school that you're going to be interning on, meaning that this is most probably afforded to third year, fourth year, first year, second year students who are doing distant learning. And if
Mm.
you're doing your PGCE or you're doing your postgrad studies, then it still also needs to be distant learning because you have to be at school.
Mm.
But would you advise that postgrad student right now, or somebody who's in fourth year and they still haven't attained work, and they thinking of doing the honors or their masters in education, and you are sitting here and saying there's a thing called an internship, would you advise somebody to do it?
Yeah, definitely. I will advise them, like if you have an opportunity, have the time to be a full-time intern teacher, I would
Intern.
just say go for it. I mean, because the
Mm,
experience is worth it. It's better than the teaching experience that you have to do mandatory for your
yeah,
studies. It's much better than that. I think it will
exactly.
kickstart your career in such a way that as a first year teacher,
Mm.
although you'll need a mentor, but you wouldn't rely on your mentor as much as if you didn't have the experience of being an intern teacher. Yeah, also.
Yeah.
Mm.
Cokes?
No, no, I'm in full agreement. I think I'd venture to even say if you're in your fourth year, even if you're not doing teaching, honestly, I think just an exposure to a work, like a professional work environment, and
Yes.
one that would test you in ways that is unbelievable because you have to learn how to almost interact with two different types of people. You've got your colleagues who are people your age and older with certain levels of experience, and then you have to
Mm,
move from being a professional on this end to
mm,
talking to like 10-year-olds or 14-year-olds or 18-year-olds. And
mm,
it teaches you people skills that I'm not 100% sure, like other internships, like let's say if you were to intern at PwC as
mm,
an accountant or something, you're solely focused on numbers. It doesn't teach you the kind of people skills it requires to work even in not just an office environment, but the level of people that you get to interact with, I think is worth it on a different level. I mean,
mm.
I also was also under the impression that teaching was just going to be used, helping kids do things. No, you're maintaining so many different relationships.
Yeah, so
you know
many
Yeah.
it's
hats.
yeah, like it's you're speaking with the admin department, you're speaking with your principal, you're speaking with your HOD, you're speaking with your colleagues, you're speaking with the kids, you're speaking with the kids' parents. You
Mm.
need to be able to strike a different tone everywhere. The level of work and how you need to be mindful of both, of different people at different stages of their lives. Like
Mm.
you can't set a test or even a lesson plan for a 14-year-old the way you would set a lesson plan for an 18-year-old. And
Yeah.
you end up in a space where you're it's kind of like you're out of your comfort zone, because you deal with so many different people on a regular basis, and it just you know you're not going to be able to find that, like I said, in a lecture theater. That didn't work for me. You need first-hand experience. Like first-hand experience. How do you deal with people? What do you do when people don't like you? What happens if you don't like someone in a
What
space like
happens?
that?
Yeah.
How do you act professional in spaces
Yeah.
like that? And I don't, as a fourth year, even as an education student, not even observing is going to teach you as much as an actual internship would teach you. I think they immerse you so much in the everyday like life of an actual teacher. Then if you go for like a 25-day observation, which is what's normally required of any
Given.
university, but
Yeah.
even then, you're sitting watching somebody else do something and you're thinking to yourself, I could do that. Yeah, 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 that looks
Until
simple. I could do
they,
it. Until you have to get up and do it yourself.
Girl.
There's, and
yeah,
that is going to test you more than finding out the morning of that a particular teacher is absent. And because you are
yeah.
the intern,
And then you have
you're
to,
the MT, you now have to figure out how to sit in a class with 18-year-old boys and girls and figure out that time you're like 23.
Yeah.
You're very close to their age, and now you have
To
to
the
go in there,
age.
manage
mm,
Yeah.
manage their behavior, set expectations, teach them something, and
mm,
ensure that they've actually learned it so that by the time your teacher gets back, you've done the job. So
Yeah.
it's a completely different thing to just your observations. So I 100% I recommend it, not just for education students, but anybody who can get an internship at a school. It will
But
teach you so many
yeah.
things. Yeah.
And I mean, one of the other things that is very important for you've already touched on it, Coco, with regards to the roles. What are the roles and responsibilities of a teacher intern, especially from our context where we were residential intern teachers and not just like first intern teachers. So let's talk about the roles and responsibilities. But before we even get to that, so I just need to spit out a bit where you also maybe delve into how do, from a South African context, how do people attain or see or find these these internships, because I promise you now, there's somebody sitting there at home and being like, firstly, I did not think this was a thing, which is problematic for somebody who is into teaching, but I'm not here to judge. But
Mm.
there's somebody who's sitting there, thinking that. And secondly, they're like, okay, Coco, Nelly, Palesa, you guys are speaking so nicely of these internships. Where can I get it? Like, where do I go about looking for an internship, and when do I even start?
I think most schools that offers internships are like ex Model C schools, private schools. So I would say go to the ISASA website. That's
Mhm.
where you mostly find internships, I think.
Definitely.
What do you
Yeah.
think, Coco?
Yeah, so definitely the ISASA website. Um, Even if the school is like an ex Model C, so even if it's a public school, but on a level 4 basis or
Mm.
level 5 or higher. So if they're really well run, if it's like a public school ran like a private school, chances are they will advertise their internship on the ISASA website. There's
Mm.
another website called Old School Ties, but I think Old School
Yes.
Ties is predominantly Western Cape. They don't do quite a lot outside of the Western Cape, though they
Mm.
do. So it is helpful to look. Um,
Yeah.
Those are the places where you'll find internships: Gauteng, the Western Cape, and possibly the KZN
Mm.
region.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so definitely have a look at those websites, and
Even the school's website.
mm,
Is it
and look
Curo?
at, yeah,
What
the
in
schools, like
how
look at
thing?
good the
The Curo, I think Curo something. What's the name of that school? Like they have different schools in Gauteng. They
And I
also
to
think
have
advocate.
they're
on their
Curo.
website. Yeah,
Yeah, it's Curo. They
Mm,
have schools outside of Gauteng as well now. They're actually
yeah.
mm,
I
becoming.
think they have details
Mm,
on their website as well, so you can
mm.
check.
yeah.
Yeah, so Puro,
So
Advitech
guys,
as well. Check the website, yeah.
yeah, so Isasa, old school ties and school websites. So you can literally Google any school, public school that is run like a private school or international private schools. But let's talk about the roles and responsibilities. Like what does your day as a residential intern look like?
Ooh.
I'm thinking this is so funny because all three of us were in the same place, but we all have three different experiences of what
Yeah.
And
of
hence and hence
what a
and hence the
normal
question
day
is and hence the question is, what does your day look like? Because it's so different.
yeah,
My
because it's
day. Uh,
different. Yeah.
let me see. Let me think about it. But I mean, let's say like on a school day,
Mm,
you have like if it's like a day of morning assembly, or like usually you have morning assembly and then you have like the school starts, you observe a certain teacher, because you also have like your own timetable, like teachers
Yeah.
that you are observing. So sometimes if you'll be given an opportunity to teach, so it would depend. So if you have a lesson to teach, and that's what you would do, or you observe some of the teachers. And after school, after school. But what I did was, because I was doing my PGCE at the same time with my internship, so sometimes I'll be attending a lecture during like the school hours. So I would not attend any class if I have a lecture. That's what I did. I prioritized studying. Maybe it's because I like studying more
Important,
than
friend. It
anything.
is important because you have to study. It's a
Yeah,
prerequisite of an internship, also, guys. Especially with
yeah.
teaching internships, you have to either be doing
Mm,
a B.Ed or whatever qualification you're doing, or you
mm.
have to do a
It's one of the
post-graduation. But
requirements.
yes, you have to be a full-time student while you're doing your internship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I will attend lectures. And after that, uh, I think towards like if it's like exam around exam time, I'll have
Mm.
maybe one student like that I'll have to help like with meds, like med support. But it'll only happen around exam time when it's like, and it's
Mhm.
also it was not my initiative. That's the thing. That's what I feel like looking back. I was not like initiator or proactive in terms of availing myself to the opportunities that were offered to me during the internship. So I would do that if I'm given that. Sometimes we'll have library duty. That's what
Mhm.
you do. or you have the dining hall duty. Also, you can do that in a day. Oh, that's late in the day. So before, like after in the afternoon, you have sports as well. So you go there. What I did in most of the sports were like table work because I'm from, like I am from a rural area. So most of my education, like we didn't do a lot of sports. So some of the sports that I was part of, like I didn't have experience on. So most of the time I would do like table work, taking the register and stuff like that. But it was so nice to be exposed to like different sports. Now I know like some of the hockey rules, like squash as well as tennis. Swimming, I know like the different types of swimming styles now and all
Yes,
that.
remember me and you, our first swimming thing where we had to be 10 cars. Oh my
Yeah.
lord, I do not even want to go back to that day. What a mess. What a
I
mess.
know what it's like.
It's a memory though. Look at you now. You know there's a
Yeah.
butterfly, there's a style.
Hmm.
Yes, it is. And I think now, sorry to cut you,
Hmm.
just to speak back to the exposure that you're talking about, I think as an intern, you have to be ready and be flexible and be willing to expose yourself to learning like things outside of what you had intentionally brought yourself to, you know. And I think
Hmm.
for me, that's one of the things I was very intentional about. I was never happy with being put in rugby. That's another conversation for another day. But as soon as I understood that, you know what, um there's something beautiful about creating a relationship outside of a classroom with these students that gives them a buy-in to listen to you when you go back to the classroom, right? So
Yeah.
although even today I could never tell you the rules of rugby, but I can always tell you how much it meant for this one
Now
boy
I
or this
know.
other
I
boy.
know the rules of rugby.
Hi, girl, not me, not this girl. I was the motivational speaker in my team, okay? And I was telling them how amazing they were. And of course, for the people that wanted to, we sang a lot of Guijo. And that's my thing. Oh, guys, the way I love Guijo, like it's a whole thing. But anyway, so expose yourself and be willing to get into the deep end. I mean, I guys, I still don't know how to swim. Like I need to get into a school that's gonna pay for my swimming lessons because I cannot. My next school, they better have a CPD that needs me to learn how to swim.
Today,
But if
where's my
I still
phone?
can't
I
swim,
don't know. Just today I saw a meme. I was
huh?
swimming.
I mean, is it about swimming?
Like somebody was like crouching like this in the water, walking like this, or else it's like you put your hands like this. Oh my god! But that's not important. Okay, let's look at
No, you must send the meme. I want to now see it. Please, you need to send it. Find your phone.
I
Send
also
it on
want to
the
see it. I also
group.
want to see it.
Send-
So yeah, now Shem, you're definitely right. I always, whatever place I get into, I always am very comfortable with wanting to learn the things that I want to learn, the things that I'm there for. But I also want to learn the things that I don't know, you know, because there's always a transferable skill to learn in any space that you get into. And as an intern teacher, you need to know that, you know, that whether they put you into soccer, whether they put you into swimming, hockey, tennis, rugby, what is it that you can learn in that particular space? Coco, how does your day look like as English slash maths intern
Yo, okay. So I was more
at
of a
that
maths
time?
intern than I was anything. Yeah, than I was
Yeah,
anything else. But I think I did the opposite of what Nels did. I did not prioritize my studies, which was a mistake. But I enjoyed my experience. I did.
yeah.
I did everything. So I didn't shy away from being a part of anything that needed to be a part of. I was in class a lot. I think on a day I would maybe take one lesson. If we had 6 lessons, I would be observing in maybe 5 of those lessons, depending on what I wanted to achieve for that day. So I knew that I needed to be able to look at how each grade was being taught. So I knew that I wanted to see how grade 8 maths was taught, how grade 9 maths was taught, and then on this particular day, I also wanted to see how grade 11 and grade 12 English was taught. So I would set my day out to make sure that all of those bits and pieces were kind of filled.
Okay.
So I normally had a full school day. And so I would, first lesson, I would be at maths. Second lesson, probably maths again. And then I'd go to an English class and then another maths class and then an English class and in between. And because I was in class so often, I was usually afforded the luxury of teaching a lot of those classes and actually interacting with the kids a lot. And so, by the time we got to, I think, like end of second term, so right before the June holidays, your beginning of June, I was averaging teaching maybe one or two classes a day. And so that's what my experience looked like. So I would teach maybe a grade 8 maths class, and then a grade 10 maths class, and then I would end up teaching a grade 9 English class that day, or something along those lines. So yeah, I was there a lot. I was teaching a lot. I was observing quite a lot. When I was bored, I would end up in a drama class, even though I had no business in a drama class, but but I was
I was no
there.
business in the drama class.
And so whenever I felt like, not today, I would end up in a drama class somewhere with Palisa or with for someone.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then in the afternoon, so I wasn't able to do sports for the later half of the year. I wasn't able to do sports because of medical reasons. And so I did a lot of math support. And so that's basically what my whole afternoon looked like. I would have a whole bunch of grade 8s or grade 9s or a whole bunch of grade 10s, depending on which day of the week it was. And yeah, and so I would just help kids who needed help on that particular afternoon with like the extra maths or extra English or anything I could possibly help with. Most of it was maths because I was primarily a maths intern, but yeah, and then yeah, as usual in the evenings, you would either have like a dinner duty or maybe you would have a lunch duty as well. Sometimes on a Friday, which I now realize, yeah, interns don't really enjoy it. I don't either. On a Friday, we would have like a clubs and societies evening. So we'd have like, I had the writing club, and so I was at the writing club on a Friday evening, or we would be chaperoning boys to a dance at another school or something. So there was always something happening. And then the whole of Saturday would be a sports day. And then, every sports game there was would end up with like the first team rugby or the first team hockey playing a huge game. And it would be like like a big event. And then there'd be like a post match function for the teachers and the coaches, and everybody would go eat free food and have free drinks. And then we'd go home. And then, the only day you really got to rest, if you would call it that,
If
would
you
be
could, yeah.
the Sunday. But then even then you're preparing for the week that's coming.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
just rinse and repeat. It was just
Mm.
work, 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 rinse and repeat every week. Yeah. But it was a lot, but it was quite rewarding. So I just think it was a busy time. Yeah.
It was. Oh my gosh, yeah. So, yeah,
Yeah.
so with me, how essentially like first week or second week, again, this idea of flexibility is gonna come out of this answer. I initially started as an English and drama intern, right? And while I was busy with that, then I was registering for my PGCE, and because of the previous, like my undergrad and my postgrad qualification, they were leaning more towards drama and life skills as opposed to English, which really worked out so well because my drama mentor ended up being my life skills or life orientation mentor, and then I had to drop English. Best decision ever. And now it's very weird because now I'm teaching English as a second language, and sometimes I switch and I'm like, shame, should I had continued, right? But I think once or twice in a week, my English mentor, because I didn't literally drop her, she didn't drop me, I would still be afforded sometimes time to go and observe if I had the time, especially in the literature and languages classes, because they knew, or my mentor knew, that I'm very much into poetry, and of course as a drama major, um when it's storytelling and poetry, that is literally my forte. So I'd still have that one or two class which you'd want me to assist with poetry. So my typical day would be around observing classes and teaching. I mean, I think for me, I was also very lucky to have mentors that were just like, girl, you know what you're doing, bro. Like, we're not even gonna have this conversation. Like, you can't be here the whole day for six classes and not teach one, because we all know you know what you're doing. So I would observe, 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 and teach. And like Coco and Nelia had already alluded to the lunch duty, but then later on for me, it would be either rugby or swimming or debate, because that's what I did as well. I still love, love, love debate. And then I also, on the Fridays, clubs and societies, I had started a poetry society, Shem, even though I had less than five kids, they were my world. I loved them. And sometimes with my mini poetry babes, we would go infiltrate Coco's writing club. They had the budget, guys, so they always had nice stuff. So we would go there and
I was the
infiltrate
budget. And
and
I
and
just
and,
remind
and
you that I was the budget. They didn't have a budget. It was me buying kids. When you say that they had a budget, it was me being nice and buying them cake and hot chocolate on a cold
the
evening.
writing
So
the writing club had a budget. We didn't. Coco was the budget.
So,
They still had it. So me and my babes would go and infiltrate, for the food. And swimming, guys, like I said, the first time I got them and they were explaining to us how to, time keep, it was the most fascinating thing ever. Like, I was so stressed. I remember me and Nels holding these time thingies. I
yeah,
was
but
like, oh
like,
my gosh, if I don't stop on
which
time,
paper did you use? She used the
that's
thermometer.
it, my friend. What's happening? Like, okay, let's stop at the same time. And
Because
besides
you
that,
need to, like, you have to make sure that I mean, you time it accurately. So you have to use the right finger
that's the
or
difference
thumb.
between the winner and the second place,
Yeah.
It's so much pressure, guys, for people that just are jumping into the water and wasting everybody's time. Like, it's so much pressure. I remember when we would go to galas, so they were called galas, where we would
Oh
go
yeah. I
and do
never
the
knew
swimming
that
thing.
there was something called swimming gala.
Exactly. I'm like, yes, the balloon, guys, when it's cuts of Lala, Nema love Lala. But we're not there, not today. We're not there. So when we go to the galas, guys, when you have to time keep with another teacher, and that's another beautiful thing about internships, guys. You get exposed to different schools, which also then allows you to network and get like a job after your internship, because your internship is not 100% guaranteed retainer situation. And I mean, we
Mm.
will speak to that later, because again, me and Coco and Nelly took different directions very quickly on in our internships, but we're still here. So you would go to the gala and you'd be with another teacher, right? In the swimming gala. And then now you guys are timekeeping. I promise you guys, what would make my day in that gala is if me and my co timekeeper person have the exact time. Like,
Yeah,
you would think I
that's what
won
we
the
started remembering that
lotto.
exact something like, oh, we got it
You
right.
would think I won the lotto. Like, it doesn't happen all the time. But when we did, like, and I remember we were at the school in Durban, and this timekeeper person was such a cool person. Like, and I mean, I think for me also, internships help you like dismantle uh like preconceptions about certain people and certain schools, right? So
Oh
I
yeah.
was working with this teacher, and Ninja, when I saw their name on the sheet, on the coach sheet or whatever sheet, I was like, oh my gosh, this person is from the school. Yeah, 3 hours of my life gone wasted, whatnot. And when we got there, we again the most beautiful teddy bear soul ever. Very nice, very welcoming, very girl. You know what? It's not as deep as everybody makes it seem. Like, just relax, because this was the first time I do it outside of our school. And with our
Mm,
school, Shem, our coaches were absolutely amazing. So
yeah.
the pressure was a lot when we left. And the guy's just like, "Ah, Ntwana, we're not doing open heart surgery. Like, it's not that deep. So just relax, have fun, make sure you don't get water on you as much as you can, and let's move. And later on, we're gonna get food and drinks and we move. But every time we got the same time, it was like me and him. We even ended up having like a whole handshake, because I think we had the same time three times. So even we had a bromance shake going on there.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. So guys, just when you are thinking and considering, which we would advise you to, doing an internship, be prepared to be flexible, be prepared to be a
Mm.
sponge. They
Yeah,
tell
very
you in
possible.
all internships, but
Mm,
be prepared to be a sponge. Be prepared to give it your all. 1 year goes so fast.
it
Like
does.
before you know it, the year is over and you're like, oh my gosh, where did that year go?
Mm,
So please do that. Yes, 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 guys. You don't get a salary as a stipend that makes you not sleep hungry. For us, we were still grateful. Well, I was grateful, but we were lucky because we stayed at the school. So we were residential interns, meaning we were at a private school that is boarding
same.
school, right? So we would eat at school, and I think that is one of the advantages because at least your stipend like was your stipend, you know what I mean?
Mm,
But guys, I promise you, the 1 year is so worth it. And if you think about it, if you don't do the internship, you're still studying, you still don't get anything, right? So
mm,
rather get the knowledge, get the exposure, and get the stipend that would also maybe assist you in just living how you need to live, doing your hair and getting
yeah.
those nice boots in winter and all of those
Mm,
cute things. But now
yeah.
what is the one thing you really didn't like about being an intern? If there's just one thing you could point and you were like, yo, this thing made me wonder my decision about doing this damn internship.
Mm. That's not fair. You can't just say one.
Let's say three.
Mm.
Let's say
Uh,
three. We don't want to make people not want to be interns now, folks. Don't be like that.
for me, it's like the
Well, I don't.
context.
Okay, okay.
I
I
think
don't
we
mean it
also
like.
have
I
to
don't mean it like
talk about
that.
where we were. Like the context for me also. Like I think let me say one thing. Okay, one thing. It was this one time where I had to referee, like to be a referee for a hockey match. Like I know the rules, but I'm a shy person. Like when I'm in front, like when I'm in front of other people, I don't know. It's like um I don't like I get slow or something, but I feel like conscious about what other people are thinking about me and all those things, which I shouldn't. I know, but I'm a shy person naturally.
It
Also,
happens, yeah.
I mean, I'm also not confident in my hockey skill. Where did Coco go?
No, I think she went network, but I think she's gonna log in back again.
Okay. So be like I was not comfortable with hockey rules yet. Like I knew like because you had to study them, but I've never done it before, like in terms of
Mm,
practice and stuff like that. So that one time when I was forced to do it, that's the one thing I didn't like.
hmm.
Yeah. But other than that, I mean I like most of the things I had to do or the opportunities that I was
I got
afforded during
mm.
the internship. Yeah. Oh, I'm lying. Another thing was dining hall duty. I didn't like that.
Gonna go there, girl. That for me
No.
was it. I did not like the dining hall duty, guys. Whether
Mm,
breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Yes, we get free breakfast, we get free. Like it's so much
mm,
better when you sitting there and eating than when
mm.
you are the one who has to like walk around and
Yeah.
tell people to stop doing this, to do that. Like for me, it was so awkward because it's like you're really supposed to know what
People
you're
are
doing. Like,
eating.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the fact that I still need to be here and tell you, I mean, yes, you're a bunch of boys, blah blah blah, but I didn't like dining hall duty. Yeah, that for me was what I didn't like. But also I think the pressure around needing to balance your schoolwork and your
Mm,
work, right? So
yeah.
studying and working at the same time in such a high pace. Because I think with private schools, you're literally in a corporate space, like the space is very high paced and it's very you need to be on your toes all the time. There are parents to please,
There's
there are
so many
kids
things to
to take
do.
care
Like in a
of.
day. There's so many.
There's pressure, people
Mm,
are paying money for their kids to be here, so they need results. So I think sometimes the pressure was very unnecessary, but it always afforded you the opportunity to force yourself to be like, I've got this, I know what I'm
mm,
doing, I'm gonna do this,
yeah.
let's move, right? And when I think about it now, I think where I am now with the very like hectic working working culture. I feel off of those days from when I was an intern, and I'm like, yeah, guys, you guys have never interned in a private school in South Africa, right? You think this is hectic? Try interning, then you'll see what hectic is. And I think now looking back, I'm very grateful for it.
Me,
Um,
me too.
and I think that's one of the things that I appreciate. But if you could speak back now to like the two biggest things you learned about being a teacher from being an intern that you still use in your practice or in your teaching life at the moment, what would you pinpoint to?
I think observing different teachers using like different methods and having different teaching styles, it helped me understand that the way that you teach should not be about you, but it should always be about the student. Like, should be
Okay.
student centered. So wherever you are, like, try to be a reflective teacher in order to
Mm,
make sure
mm,
that whatever you are teaching, especially during during a lesson,
mm,
whatever you're teaching is being absorbed or consumed, like students are able to understand what you are trying to teach them. So it's like one of those things, like being a reflective teacher, classroom management as well. Understanding that you have to manage the classroom energy as well. Like when
mm,
like kids are getting bored, you have to do something to just engage, make sure that they're engaged. And when they are like I don't know, hyper in terms of like energy, like their energy levels are very high. You have to do something just to calm them down, like
to bring it
whatever
back, yeah.
activity that you can do with them to make sure that their energy is on the right level. So
Managed, yeah, as
you know,
managed.
so it's one of those things that I learned during my internship, as well as like technological tools that you can use in class as like teaching resources. Like I
Girl.
still use Kahoot with my like Kahoots with my like undergrad students or like master students to this day, because I like I realized that it helps you with like summarizing your lesson to see if students were
Mhm.
able to get what you were trying to teach
To
them.
say,
So
yeah,
yeah, because I never knew about those things, especially
girl.
technological tools that you can use in class,
Mm,
um, classroom management, making sure that you're a reflective teacher, and all those things. I still use
mm.
them to this day. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think for me, over and above what you're also speaking back to, because it's exactly what I was very appreciative of. For
Uh,
me, it was also the importance of relationship building between you and your students, right? Because for us, having lived on campus, we were with these kids like 95% of the time or 90% of the time, because you also have house duty. I
mm,
mean, I at the beginning didn't like house duty, but then when I started like getting comfortable with the boys and the kids, then it
mm,
became because you then realize that in all these different times when you're with the students outside of class, you
mm,
can like hone your relationship with them so that when they get into class, then
yes.
you
Yeah.
don't have to do so much groundwork anymore. You just move
Mm,
and you move with the ball. And I think I'm still understanding the importance of that even now that your students need to trust you. They need to trust the teacher that is standing in front of them. And most of the trust is built outside of the class because
mm,
classroom hours or classroom minutes are lesser than everything else, right? So I only teach you 40 minutes in a day where I see you once or twice a day if you like it. But I'm with you in debate for 3 hours, or I'm with you in swimming. For us to leave school to go to that swimming tournament, I'm with you at the bus for 2 hours going back there. 2 hours coming back. I'm with you at the tournament for 3 hours. So do you see? There's so much time I spend with you that is outside of the classroom. And if I observe, like you spoke about, if I observe you and I see the things that you like and I see your mannerisms and I see how either outspoken or shy you are, these are the little things that I'm picking up that I'm gonna then use when I'm with you in the class when you're now in a shell or you shy or you can't understand something, then I bring back the lived in experience to say, remember that swimming tournament we did, this person did this, that person did this. When we're speaking about drama in my context, these two people were performing a certain type of dramatic element, and now these kids, you could even see them light up because you brought in what they know, and you've made that connection and you've already grabbed them. And I think even outside of my internship, I still use that, the fact that you do need to build relationships with these students, and it's important that you build sincere relationships, and find ways where the relationship building is still teacher student, and it's
Mm,
not friend, because for us, because of our age and because we were at the lower level of the hierarchy
mhm.
of the profession, sometimes if you don't know how to balance it, then the kids find you to be the friend more than the teacher, and you don't want that. And one of
Yeah.
the things the school and the internship taught me was there always needs to be a balance, because you always be the teacher. But in that balance, don't be closed off. Don't be disingenuous. Don't be like, I'm the teacher, I'm supposed to tell you what to do and you're gonna do it and we move. Be
Mhm.
as open to learning as you can. Make the relationship be very fair and very mutual, but still make it very respectful. And I think I wouldn't have, I wouldn't have grasped, especially having lived. I mean, I didn't go to a boarding school, but having that 1 year experience gave me such a different perspective about boarding school in its entirety as well. And I
Yeah.
think for that I'll also forever be grateful.
Mm.
And
I mean,
when we think of,
Like what you were saying about like the difference between a teacher and intern teacher, I could feel that, especially when it comes to discipline. Some kids,
yeah,
like, 'cause I don't think we were given enough authority to discipline kids. Like instead of
yeah,
giving them A's and all those um like discipline
disciplinary
measures,
tools. Yeah,
we're not given enough authority to do that.
mm,
And
mm,
in that way, like kids will be like, okay, the way that I treat you will be different to the way that I treat or approach my teacher. That's what
my
I
teacher.
I struggle with. I don't know, because
Mm,
I had to log a student, but it was once like a
mm.
student like said something that was like out of line. Like, but it was during. You remember we had reading classes as well, like reading groups where
Yes,
you
yes, yes.
in charge of a reading group. Yeah. So.
So, and that is true, right? It's almost the same as that's how I feel right now with the school, where it's like the teachers, the local teachers here have much more authority because of the language barrier with us, where the kids don't necessarily give you the same amount of respect or give you the same amount of attention that they would give the native teacher, and it's so problematic. Welcome back. Oh my
Oh,
Oh
goodness.
my gosh. I'm on my phone. I'm sorry. It's I don't know. My
N-
laptop is just not loading.
No, I'm
Oh,
glad you're back.
welcome back.
So welcome back, babe. So we're just talking about the one thing you didn't really appreciate about
Oh,
being
what?
an intern,
Mm.
um so Nels and I mean, we spoke about the one thing you didn't appreciate, and you were going to talk about three, and then we were talking about things that you did appreciate.
Mhm.
Mm,
The myriad of things.
okay. So where do I start on the things? Okay, I'm kidding. I won't name three things. I'll just name one. Um, I think the one thing that I didn't appreciate was how how disposable we were to just everyone.
Mm.
Like I didn't appreciate that. Is that what you guys also spoke about? Right.
But it is very, I see this. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, no guys, I
Ah,
I
that's
just
one
honestly,
nail
like
on
if
the
there was
head.
something that anybody didn't want to do or anybody in their own department didn't feel like doing, even if the thing had nothing to do with any of
With
the
you.
interns,
Yeah.
like you had to do it.
Exactly.
So, you know,
As a
yeah.
maximum intern.
Even things that had nothing to do with your department, nothing to do with which area you were, being mentored in. Like
Mm.
I can think of countless times where I was asked to do something and I was even like, but wow, why am I?
Why am I doing
Why
this?
am
This has got
I
nothing
doing
to
this
do with
thing?
me.
Like where am I going? Why is this part of my job description?
Yeah.
And so I feel like anything that anybody didn't want to do ended up being an intern job, and like there was nothing you could say or do about it. Otherwise your quote unquote reputation at the place that you're at was looked at, you know
Yeah.
in a weird way, and then now
Yeah.
you're labeled as that lazy person who doesn't want to do anything, despite the fact that you've done absolutely everything else. It's just this one
Everything.
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, that I didn't appreciate so much. I don't know
And what's
what
the one
I
or two things you really loved? And like even today in your practice, you like, if I wasn't an intern, I wouldn't have known or done this way, and I'll forever be grateful for that.
I think I think can I mention two things, because I
Yeah,
think
yeah, yeah.
they're both equally important.
Important.
First,
Yeah.
the thing that I appreciated the most was having the mentors that I did.
Mm.
um, there's nothing, and not to say that every teacher is going to be like the best mentor out there or whatever.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
honestly, I just think I struck lucky with the maths mentors and the English mentors that I had,
Mm.
because they were so invested in my growth as
In
a
you
teacher.
growing,
Like, yeah,
definitely.
it's almost like they already acknowledged me as a teacher, even though I was just a student teacher. And
Mm.
so they poured into me the way that they would want their own child who was starting a teaching career to be poured into.
Mm. Mm.
Like they in my internship year, like there was nothing that I would ask to be a part of that I wasn't allowed to be a part of. Like
Yeah.
if they were marking matric papers, I'd be like, can I please help mark matric papers? And they would put me with a teacher to help me, to show me how to
Wow.
mark matric papers. If somebody was setting a test and I was like, can I please see how you set a test for this grade, blah 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 blah, they would make space for me to come and sit with them so they can show me how they set the test, you know
Mm.
and yeah, and I think I was just fortunate in that my mentors really poured into me. So that's the first thing that I really loved about just having somebody to remind, to show you that, okay, this job isn't just about standing in front of everyone. Here's how we do all the stuff that leads up to that point. And
Mm.
so, yeah, I really appreciated it. Second thing that I think was very important was maintaining relationships with people who were not like part of the teaching body. I think to this day, my job and just how my life functions at the school is because I know so many of the ladies who clean my classroom, the ladies who clean up
Dining
in the
halls.
library upstairs,
Mm.
the ladies in the kitchen who if they realize that I haven't been at lunch yet and they know that I was supposed to come, who will let me eat with the rest of the staff if I'm late for lunch or something. Like maintaining relationships with people who, I don't want to say you don't have much to gain from, but maintaining relationships with people who actually do the invisible work for you. I mean, I think we were fortunate. We stayed on the campus, and like guys, our rooms got cleaned. And I can't even pretend to be the cleanest of people. I'm not. I'm a very messy person. I am extremely messy. But every single day there was, we had like our group of girls who would come and help us and clean our spaces for us and make sure that our things were sitting in the right places, that we didn't lose anything important, and just having people who are watching out for you like in invisible spaces is just so important. And I really enjoyed, like, I really appreciated the relationships that I created with those ladies and gents, like Abu Becky, the drivers, like you create such good relationship with people who end up being like, because I stayed. I think I might be, yeah, I'm the, no, I was one of two interns who actually stayed. But
Well,
because
in
I
our
stayed
group,
there,
in our group.
yeah, yes, in our group, I was the only intern who stayed. But, maintaining those relationships became so
Yeah.
much easier because, like, now everybody around you, is like, oh, now Coco's like an actual teacher. Let's see how we can make her life easier.
Yeah.
And, it's, yeah,
And I think,
it really
yeah,
helped me.
and Coco, what you're touching on is so important. I think it's even outside of just teaching, guys. Now, my father always said to me, in a work space, the two important people that you always need to be on good terms with, the cleaner and the drivers or the security guards, right?
Mm.
And the cleaners and the security guards, or like the for Coco says the people that do the invisible work. But I think the fact that you know those people means, like you say now, friend Jorge, your life becomes so much easier. But also from a ubuntu perspective, guys, now I think as a person that looks like us in spaces that people that look like us aren't so many, as soon as you see somebody that looks like you need to treat them in the most respect and the most honor and the most regard that you'd want to be treated as, because you, even though it's from different elements and sometimes they might be going through the most more than you, but you guys are technically in the struggle together, right? And sometimes when I remember, even because I left midway my internship, but I remember even when I still came back because of the relationships I had built from the school, and I would see the ladies that used to clean our rooms, and Abu Baba, when we got into the bus, they'll always be like, you're so weird, and like it would make me
Mm.
feel so much like I'm back at home. And for that, this will always be my home. And even when I would leave my current school at the time and go to the school where I was interning, I'd be very excited because I know I'd be welcomed with such open arms. And even most of them would even be like, "When are you coming back, man? When are you coming back?" Even the kids would say that.
Even
I'd
the
be like,
kids,
and
yeah.
I'd be like, tell your people to do the things. I will come back tomorrow. But it's because of that, the relationship building that you create with the people that everybody else would think it's not important to create. And I mean,
Mm.
even now, you never Caesar and I spoke about it in our latest video before this
There's
one.
an echo. Is I'm the only one who's hearing it?
Yeah, I
I
don't
think
hear
that,
any.
yeah, the echo's coming from you, Nels. Let me just mute and bring you back. But I'll mute you for a minute, and hopefully you're fine. Is it okay?
Hi. Okay, it looks like it's okay now.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. So we were speaking about it in our previous video with Caesar, that sometimes, guys, it's like Gibbo to, you never know when you might need somebody or when somebody might need you. But if you're that one person that's living like an island, where you're not, then it's gonna be very hard for you to like, reach out when you need to reach out. And I mean, imagine if something were to happen, Cokes, and you were
Mm.
that forgive me for the French, but you were that bitch that didn't want to speak to anybody else, then nobody would want to come to your rescue. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And but knowing the type of person you are, even in the least, like as soon as you inconvenience, somebody is gonna be them like, not Cokes. This is what I can do for Cokes. That's what I can do for Cokes. You know what I mean? And that is very important. Never do it because you want to gain something, but do it as a
Mm.
humanistic thing. Gore, I'm here to serve, and my serving goes beyond being the teacher or being the person that everybody else gives something they don't want to
Yeah.
do, but it also goes to me serving as a decent human being and being respectful and being somebody that tries to learn people's names even though it's so hard. That's one thing I still struggle with now, learning everybody's names. But being able to ensure that people understand that they matter to you whenever you interact with them, like you being able to give them that time. But guys, basically we gave the Vital Chronicle guys so much time today. But one of the things I'd like for us to tap into, Hanyani, because I know you guys will be back, but I don't want this to be like crazy, crazy long. It's just this
Mm.
idea of representation. Um,
Oh.
one thing I personally still don't appreciate about private schools in South African context, but also in the global context, guys. Firstly, we're needing a lot of teachers in these spaces. There's the like research, you guys would know this better than me, but there's so many teachers that are needed to be trained, to get into these classrooms, because the teachers that are in these classrooms are leaving the space, right? And I think one of the important things that is making people leave, that would make me want to leave in a different life, is this idea of representation. I think the private space in South Africa, although they're trying, although there's work that is done, but I don't think it's at the rapid um, speed that everything else that might be unnecessary is being done at, right? This
Mm.
idea of representation. What did it mean for you to not be the only black intern or black female intern in the space that we were in? Because I also think in our year it was just the three of us, the females, but we had a number, we had quite a number of people of color in our intern group, and I think that meant something to me. But what does representation mean to you, or what did it mean in your intern year?
Sure.
Oh, for me, it meant so much. Even being exposed to the like private school context as a as a person who's never been in such a space before, I was grateful for that. And also I was grateful that I was not the only black person there. I was not the only black woman there. So it meant
Yes,
so much.
yes,
It really meant so much. And it made me understand like the importance of representation as well. Like looking at
yeah,
the school, I mean, you can say it's like predominantly a white school, but there's a
mm,
lot of black kids like
mm,
population, and it made me realize that we have some of like black people in South Africa who can afford these private schools, which is a good
mm,
thing. It gives me hope for the future. So
mm,
I mean, someday we'll get to the point whereby um, black kids or black learners will not just be the minority, but will be the majority in those spaces. So yeah, it
mm,
meant so much for me. I was grateful,
yeah.
and I learned a lot personally, professionally.
Yeah.
I did.
If there was ever anybody with a book plug, it was always Palesa, just like this is what we're reading now. This is what we're tapping
Yeah.
in now. And I don't think we would have had any of those experiences if we hadn't like met each other where we were at
Mm,
the time. I remember, I think I said this on Friday when we were having a conversation. I'm like, how have we reached so many, different, really good conclusions after we left each other because we were in the same space for so long. And then only after we left were we like, okay, all of these things are the things we're discovering. But that doesn't take away from the fact that I personally think that all three of us come from like we grown up. We're all black women, but we grew up
mm.
in three completely different contexts,
Yeah,
completely different. And
yeah,
like
yeah.
I know I grew up in a suburb, and I went to what would be classified as a Model C school. It was a public school, but it was still quite Model C. Pale, I knew you grew up Kokasi, and
Okay, yeah,
Nels grew up like like in a village, like home kind of vibe. And
yeah,
for us to have met each other where we were, I don't
mm,
know. And I'm speaking from my experience now, being in the minority still in the
mm,
space,
mm.
since there's only I think four female teachers on staff. I don't think I would have survived the space the same way, because I wouldn't have shared, the same. And I excuse my maybe excluding men from this, because intersectionality is a thing. I wouldn't have had the same experience if I didn't have other black females. And I can
Yeah,
understand there are female people there, and yes, we have a female experience. There are black people there, and yes, we have a black experience.
black
But
experience,
having a black female experience
yeah,
is a completely different thing
context.
to trying to take the two things and look at them separately. And
Mm,
I don't think I think if we hadn't met each other at the point that we did,
mm.
I don't know if any of us would have survived the space as well
Sure.
as we
Sure.
did.
Sure.
And yeah, I was kind of so grateful. When I first came there, obviously, you're thinking, I came here to work. This is what it is. Like
You were
at
that
the end of
type
the
bitch.
day, the
You were that
paycheck,
type
whatever
bitch.
paycheck there wasn't even a paycheck. We were just there for vibes. It was
Yeah.
just there for decoration. But like, there's an end goal. This is what we're doing. This is where we're going.
Mm,
I'm focused on
mm,
that. And I don't know, like, I think the shift or the disrupt in my one-mindedness,
mm.
so that my mind could be then opened up to different perspectives, to different ways of living, to different experiences that I thought maybe were just unique to only me, especially in
Mm,
these predominantly white spaces.
mm,
Just to find other people who share things in common and who also have like common goals, wanting to be seen a specific way, especially in these spaces,
mm.
where we already know there's like a lot of stigma around, being black and being in a space
Being
like
black
this,
and being
especially
female. Yeah.
in these predominantly, like these private school spaces where you hear things like, um, these spaces are really looking for black women who can teach, blah blah blah, so that they can fill a quota or look a certain way for employment equity purposes. But most of these spaces don't even put the work in to understand what it would mean in order for you guys to
To
accommodate
have
some.
the black person. Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so,
Yeah.
yeah, I think it just made it a lot easier. And like I said, guys, I'm a chronic complainer. I don't think I would have been able to walk into my room and start yelling at Nels, oh, do you know what happened today? And and have somebody listen to me and have somebody hear me.
Yeah.
It would have driven me crazy if somebody was like, "Are you sure? Maybe they just know." I meant what I said, bitch. I said that this happened to me today.
Mm. I
You
am
know.
sure. I'm very sure.
I'm very sure. Thank you.
And
Yeah.
I think, yo, guys, so it's so weird, friend, because me and you, folks, we even spoke about this like later on, because I mean your house was everybody's house, so we would always be at your house,
Pretty much.
your place now. It's because you guys were near the kitchen, but also like
Yes,
Nje,
because the food was just around the corner.
you
Exactly.
you know, and Nje, we just had our moments there.
Mm,
But I think for me, the idea of sisterhood, like it wasn't forced, but geographically it was, right? But
mm,
the nice thing is that even outside of the forced sisterhood, there came out a very genuine friendship and very genuine like reciprocity of love and kindness and service to each other, and just also being able to learn from each other. Because I guys now I really okay. Well, I'm not a person that gels with everybody because you guys know Gap Harper, but I don't think when I think about it, I don't think I really have like meds or science friends, and it's just, I mean, Tabang and us, we were speaking about it on Friday, and Tabang and I are just like, you science people are just so stuck up, for lack of a better word. It's like 1 plus 1 is 2. It's like, well, sometimes half plus half plus half plus half is 2, right? We don't have to just say 1 plus 1. And the fact that you guys also gave me that leeway to be that person in the group, because now I'm a very crazy, very and ever. This is not happening, you guys are just fuel my crazy. And I think more than anything, for me, representation in the greater scheme of things matters on a level where these kids, even boys and girls, because even when I left our school, I went to an all-girls school, and it was just this idea of teaching these young ones. Like Nelly was talking about how we are now fortunate to be in spaces where people that look like us have the money to afford to take their kids in these places, right?
mm,
But it's very unfortunate for them, the kids, not to learn how to treat people that look like them because they're not
mm,
used to being around people that look like them. And we didn't speak about it, and I know we can speak about it on a level of discipline later on in another video. But the fact that these young students are learning that there's a thing called a black brilliant woman, right?
mm,
That this black woman knows what she's doing. She went to school, she's got papers, she's got a brain, she put in the work, she's from the trenches. And she can stand there and teach me because she knows what she's doing, and I can sit here and listen and take what she's saying as a black woman, right? And the fact that before us, perhaps especially for the little ones, right? It was very hard for them, for me, when I got there earlier, for them to fathom that firstly I exist, firstly I'm there, firstly I deserve to be there. And it's almost always this idea that you guys are the only people that can understand me, coming back and be like, you guys, how dare this person ask me, do you really have this qualification? Like, what do you think? But you think I literally just went to my grandmother in Dumbeni and said, just write that I'm a lawyer? You know what I mean?
You
It's
know,
so
like,
ridiculous how
yay,
it's
guys.
just questions that they ask you, and you're like, this person just asked me this. You know
Right?
what? Coco and Nelly have to hear about this, you know? Uh, so it was beautiful on both those levels, on the us personal level, but also on the outside level, because this one time I remember we all went to Verts. It's another story for another day. But before you guys came, I was attending this chillers with this boy who was from a rivalry school. And guys, I'm gonna be recording with uh Vish and Anela next week. Y'all are not invited. Y'all are not invited. But maybe you are. But the
Mm.
thing is, I didn't want to make it the four of us because it was gonna be 6 hours long. Like y'all
Probably.
know when
Yes.
we all meet each other. I even
Mm.
told Vish and Anela, I'm like, I don't wanna bring all of us together because ngeke re qete. But
Yeah.
um it was just so beautiful, guys, how this boy says to me when I got to Verts, as a boy that has studied at this other amazing school for 5 years, I didn't
Mhm.
know how to interact with black women. And that is so sad to hear. Like,
Yes.
what do you mean, right?
Yeah.
And he broke it down to me so beautifully. I mean, of course, he's a lawyer student, so he's very good with his tongue and talking. But he broke it down so beautifully for me, and he's like, nobody ever teaches me to treat a black woman outside of my mother. And I'm never going to treat another black woman who's not my mother like my mother. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So I've never been taught by a black woman teacher. Yes, here and there are black male teachers, but I've never been taught by a black woman teacher. When we go to these chaperoning schools, more often than not, I hang around and I date white girls. Therefore, that is my type. That I become, I don't know what the word is, but essentially, like, my geographic then tells me this is my type, right? Because this is the only person that's of availability to me. And then I get here, and then there's this girl Pale Sawakokasi, and Pale says like, don't you dare check yourself when
Mm.
you're talking to me. What you just said is nonsense. Because another thing, with regards to some of us now, we can respectfully say you're talking nonsense, but we can also very rudely say, don't you dare. Certain
Mhm.
I'm not the one, you know. And the other female that is the other color sometimes are very nice, or they pretend to be. We don't know which one it is. But when coming to their male counterparts, it's very hard for them to be very. You are not going to say that nonsense to me. And for us,
Mm.
very strong-willed women, that we end up being called the angry black woman,
The
and
angry
it's like,
black
yeah,
woman.
I
Yeah.
am angry. Don't you think? Don't you think if you were me and you go through everything that I go through, you'll be angry too? Trust you me, my anger is still with me. But yes, you're right. I'm very much angry, because I've got reason to be angry. But that is what representation means for me. The fact that we start teaching these kids that you can be so much more than society tells you that you can. And it's so ironic because they've got so much exposure, but they still are dealing with so many inferiority complexes that we
Yeah.
dealt with the less
Exactly.
exposure that we had. If anything, they even have it more worse, right? Because
Mm.
they have social media telling them you are not the one, while the rest of us are trying to say, but you are the one. I would always tell my students that I'm a teacher because I want to be, not because NSFAS had to pay for me and I had to be. I can go back to any time, so don't you start with me, right? But I think even having that amount of power in these spaces to remind not only yourself but the people you with that we're here because we want to be, we're here because we deserve to be, we're here because you need us to be. Therefore,
Exactly.
start treating us in that manner and stop making us feel like you're doing us a favor because we are the black women that weren't considered before.
Mm.
What
I,
actually
you know what,
differentiates
I 100% hear you. I think we've gotten to a point, especially in spaces where, you're seeing that Black women are really wanted, in terms of representation. I think we've got to the point where a lot of people, when they see you in a predominantly white space, they start to forget that yes, you were hired, and yes, it looks a certain way that you were hired. I think they call it like an employment equity hire or something, and I get that, right? But
Mm,
to an extent, I think everybody forgets that these particular posts, when they go looking for this particular Black woman, they're looking for
mm.
somebody who's qualified, and in most cases, overqualified for
Over,
these
friend.
particular roles that they're
Over.
applying for. I mean, what good would it do me as a Black woman to walk into a space that I'm not ready for, that I'm not qualified for, that I
Mm,
won't be able to do well in? Like, what
mm,
does that do for my already frail representation, like my reputation, which is
mm.
already superseded by the fact that I'm being hired just because of the color of my skin? I wouldn't
Yeah.
want to walk into a space where I'm not going to do the right thing and do my
Yes.
job above and beyond what is expected of me, to show
Of
you that
me.
not only do I deserve to have this role, I can do it and then some. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And then yeah, you end up in a space where you are not only trying to represent yourself, but it's like I don't want to call them the burdens, but the reputation of every other Black woman who will enter that space then lies on how you
Mm.
deal
Yeah.
with what's happening, with
Yeah.
with how you deal with people in the space, whether you have a good experience or not a good experience,
Mm.
how you have to deal with those experiences with a certain level of grace, with a certain level of, okay, I can't go beyond this point, with
Mm.
a certain level of restraint, because some of these
Mm.
people will drive you crazy,
Yeah.
but then you can't
Most
do
of them.
anything. Like,
Most of them.
you either can't do anything about it, or you can only do so much, because you don't
So
now want to
much.
label all Black women
Mm.
as the that crazy lady. And when you start now really talking about your grievances and airing them out, you don't just come across as angry, you also come
Mm.
across as aggressive, even if that was not your intention to begin
Yeah.
with. You
Yeah.
end up
Yeah.
coming across as this aggressive person, and so now you are trying to be like and I don't even want to say so much a role model, more of a representation to
Representation.
black, yes, to
Yeah.
black boys in these predominantly white spaces, to show
Mm.
them that yes, there are other women, there are Black
Mm.
women
Mm.
who A, are not your mother, number one,
Mm.
and
Mm.
B, do other things other than the defined roles that we have,
That your
especially in
mother
South
does.
Africa,
Yeah.
for Black women. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Mm.
And yeah, that's shame. It's a shame. And I think I know exactly which school you're talking about. Of course, we know which school you're talking about. It's the enemy school. We know for a fact. And
Mhm.
we had a little bit of a situation. I remember. I don't know if you remember, friend, in our
I do.
in
I
our
do.
intern year, where we went
Intern,
to this
intern
particular
dinner.
school, and
That's
we just
another spice we need to talk
got
about, guys. We need to talk about that spice. That's a whole
right,
conversation. That's a
right.
whole different conversation.
It is because, like, and
Yeah.
you know what I remember taking from that. You and I asked the questions that we did, and I kept gunning for it, because I was like, no, you guys aren't giving us the right answers, and
Yeah.
I kept
Yeah.
going. And the thing that surprised me about that entire exchange wasn't the fact that I was able to voice my opinion the way that I already knew from the way that I pointed out my opinion that somebody wasn't going to be happy with this reaction,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
but the thing that surprised me the most was how all the Black men interns
Mm,
then came
mm.
up to me afterwards, and they're like, calm down, Coco, take a breath, calm down. Like, there's no need to be angry. And I'm like, what do you mean?
I'm
I
not
wasn't,
angry.
I was not angry. I was just pointing out the facts
Yeah, the
of
truth.
the truth of the
Mm,
situation, is that,
mm,
and for the fact that that's the kind of image that they have of us, like, you know Black feminist women in these spaces are always angry about something or some other that some white person is doing, and I'm like, yes, I understand, yes, but a job, number one, right? and number two, because I understand the representation of what I'm doing here, it's very important that I do it right. So, I'm not out here picking a fight. I'm out
Yeah.
here trying to figure out how to help other Black women get into these
That are
spaces.
about to be coming into these spaces
You
because you
understand?
need
So
other
that,
Black
yeah,
women in these spaces.
exactly. So they can have a more comfortable experience than I
And we
did when I came
deserve it.
in.
We really like we deserve. Why are we so judged for needing or wanting to be as comfortable as everybody else? Because we can see other people are very much comfortable.
Right. And other, like, their superiors go out of their way to make them
To
comfortable.
make them
But
comfortable,
yeah,
yeah.
but then, in our spaces, no, these things don't, because you're a Black woman, you can handle it, you got this. And then you're left, doing things. I think that was my whole of my first year, but it
But
was,
I also think, like when it comes to like airing out your grievances, you have to think about timing. There's a time and space for everything, so you can't ask certain questions at a certain event because it's like the event was gonna something else, and then you're asking questions about something else. So I think it's also like important to make sure that your timing is right.
yeah,
It's not just
yeah, I
with
don't think,
regards to that, Nels, with regards to that, but
let me
Nels,
play
with
devil's
regards to
advocate
that, right?
again.
I think no, but the timing for me was perfect because you were asking a direct thing that was being spoken about
But
from
I mean,
the speaker.
I understood your questions about your question about inferiority complex. It was directed to him. I understood that question. That was like
Hmm.
it made sense based on
I
because
don't
he
think
was
all the
sharing his
questions made sense.
experience.
Mara, guys, we will make this another video because it's very
Of
important.
course.
What Nelly's talking
Yeah.
about with regards to
Yeah.
timing, like time, space,
Yeah. But
and
personally,
and
yeah, but then we've got to be honest, guys. I already knew I was going to fuck shit up while we were in the bus on our way to the
we did,
16th
Yeah,
event.
we
I
did.
already knew what I was going to do. I own
The
it.
ancestor had
I
already
will own that much.
spoken with
I already
Bona.
knew that I was going to say the things
sharing
that I
your
said that
phone.
day.
It's
There was
important.
just
It's
no
important.
way.
Good, guys. But yeah, my darlings, thank
Yeah.
you so much. I mean, honestly speaking, this is how much I love you too, but also this is how much like I love teaching as a whole and just this channel because guys, I think I'm so much appreciative. I mean, I think the takeaway for me is please, if you're in South Africa and you're a black female or a black male and you are in a space where you're able to work full time as an intern, please apply. You've got all the information from everybody, but I'm needing us to do this because again, we spoke about the importance of being a lifelong learner. I need from you guys, it is going to be our ritual. Please tell me a book that you're probably reading now or a book that you read that you would want any educator to read. So it could be like directly linked to academia, it could not be, but what is that what book that you think, you know what, if an educator, whether a math educator, English educator, um drama educator were to read this book, it would be good not only for them, but it would also be good for the learners that they're teaching. And it's important for that teacher to have that knowledge from that book.
Mm. For me,
Okay.
I think looking at teaching, I mean, you don't have to just focus on like the pedagogical side, like in
Mm-hmm.
terms of understanding like teaching methods, the
Mm,
theory, and the practice as well. It's not about that. It's also about making connections because you were talking
mm,
about how it's important
Mm,
to avail yourself to opportunities to interact with
mm,
kids outside of the classroom so that you can
mm,
build trust, which will make classroom management or teaching easier. Because when kids
mm,
trust you, they have a connection with you or a relationship with you, it
mm.
makes teaching and classroom management easier. So,
mm.
one of also thinking about the pastoral side of teaching, because you also have
Yes,
to act as a whether it's like a coach or a counselor or like you have so many hats as a teacher.
you
So
do.
one
Mm,
book that I read a long time ago was how to influence people and make friends. It was Dale Carnegie.
Mm.
Yeah, so it teaches you how about to make like connections, like the importance of, for example, if you're interacting with somebody, um it's not about talking about yourself most of the time.
Mhm.
Ask
I
questions.
remember when you read that book, you were so
Yeah.
happy.
You should ask questions, like somebody will refer to you as a grade
Yes.
conversationalist based on how you ask them questions about themselves, because we are all selfish beings, guys. All
Yeah.
humans are selfish. We want to talk about ourselves. So the more you ask people about themselves, like now ask kids, like, how was the game on Saturday? Because they like talking about those things as well. So the more you create connections, the more you make them you make I mean they trust you, and it makes teaching easier. So that's
Mm.
one of the book I would recommend. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Nels. Cokes?
Okay. Well, I am a bit of a math nerd in that I a lot of the things that I read with.
No. Oh,
She's back.
okay,
Did I
yes,
go? Wait,
yes.
is it me? Is it me? It's
Yeah, you
probably
back,
is
you
me
back,
again.
you back.
Okay, yeah. So I read a lot of books along the lines of how to make the classroom experience a more enjoyable experience for my
Mm.
kids, especially um I mean, if you sucked at maths, you already hate it. Like, you just, if you didn't get the nice marks in maths, then you probably don't like maths, and
Mhm.
that's just how I think our brains are wired. In that
Me.
sense, like, if you're getting a 40% for maths, you probably don't like maths all that much, and you're not gonna
Mm.
wanna work towards like a
Being
70 and
better.
80%. Yeah,
Mm.
especially if like you really try hard for that 40, unless you're like a special breed of kid. But in terms of making my classroom a better space for kids, I've been reading this book by an author named Peter Liljedahl. He's a Canadian educationist. The book is called "Creating Thinking Classrooms in Mathematics," and it's basically just giving kids the space to not have to always learn a rule in mathematics, or for you to show them exactly what to do. Give them the space to think about things for themselves, figure out patterns for themselves, learn to get the wrong answer and keep trying again to see if they can find the right answer. So basically giving them the space to use their brains, rather than you just sitting down showing them how this thing is done and then saying, okay, now you try. you know
Mm.
don't show them anything. As a matter of fact, just see if they can take the information that you've taught them before and make those kinds of connections to get to
For
what
themselves.
they need to
Yeah.
do next. So I really enjoyed that. I'm hoping that they'll make me a grade controller next year so that I can make a completely, like, a whole grade, try it out to see if it will do anything for
For
the maths
them.
marks of that entire grade, or
Mm.
just even if it doesn't, just to create, like, to make happier students.
Mm.
Just
Mm.
give kids the space to be happier at school and not feel like, when does this day end, like, when do I get to go home? Because that's most kids, especially teenagers, because we deal a lot with teenagers, or I do at least. Their experience is, when does class end so that I can go home and I don't have to be here? So
Oh
yeah.
no, girl,
So that's
we are.
Yeah.
And I think even being here has made me understand that, especially after lunchtime. Like, no kid wants to be in a classroom after lunchtime, and you need to make it worth their while. It's almost as if, like, this is why you guys need to pay me so much money, because now I'm even now a babysitter and a clown and like a
right.
performer who does
You're a
not get paid as
motivational
much as
speaker.
I'm a
It's a
motivational speaker,
lot.
I'm a psychologist, I am a coach, you know.
Yeah.
Now
Oh, sorry, before we move on, just a point of correction. The book is the name. I mean, the title of the book is "How to Win Friends and Influence People" by
Influence people.
Dale
Yes.
Carnage. Yeah,
Carnegie.
just so that
Yes,
everyone
I know.
knows.
He's written quite a lot of books. He's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dale
I think,
Carnegie.
yeah, I want to maybe, but guys, we see, I need to finish the books I'm reading now before I even add into my cards. For me, for any teacher, or student, teacher, or anybody who's getting into the system, I think this book must be, or it is, perhaps maybe for the drama courses, but I know it is in certain institutions. And I think when people read this particular book, they need to read it not just from a, I'm reading it because I'm a student and I need to understand it, but they need to be reading it from a practitioner perspective, and they need to read it from a person who's saying, I'm going to live this truth. You know what I mean? This book is titled Pedagogy of the Oppressed, by Paulo Freire. I
Oh,
think it's
come
a
on.
very
Is
beautiful
it
book.
Paulo Freire?
It's Paulo Freire, bruh.
Of course
You
it's
cannot,
Paulo Freire,
you
baby.
cannot, you
No,
know.
he's the one. He's
Um,
the one.
that book makes you the teacher you want, right? But the one thing, guys, who was your most favorite teacher and why?
Oof.
Oh, that's why I was talking about connections. Like, it's important to make
Okay.
kids feel good about themselves.
Hmm.
Hmm.
I don't know.
Like
Okay,
for
so do
me,
we mean? Can I just ask? Do you mean my favorite teacher when I was at school, or my
Yes.
favorite teacher when I was an intern?
No,
Okay,
at school.
when
At school.
at school. Okay.
I think for me, it's like it's based on how they treated me, um, and
But do
how
you
they
have
made
that
me
one
feel
specific
about myself.
one? Nels, but do you have that one specific one? Even today, when you're sitting and you like, you probably
Yeah,
also influenced the fact that I love teaching so much.
yeah, Mrs. Dubazane. She was my she was my computer, like I did computer application technology cat, yeah, in high school. So she was my computer, my cat teacher. I mean, I also like I also loved how she taught, like, cause see, like it was back in like years ago,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
was like doing computer skills basically for the first time. Like, it's, I mean, a woman is teaching this, because to me she was like, ooh, she's like the most brilliant uh
Yeah.
learned teacher out there, like black woman as well. She was also like my
Exactly.
role model. And sometimes like the I think she will say like about me, like in class, like she will make me feel about myself, like, because I went to another school, like another high school in my grade 11 year, but then like halfway throughout the year I came back, like after June, I think around June. So I came back, and one time like we were in class, like doing something, and she was like, wasn't Nelly so the smartest kid in class, like the year, like in grade 10? Because I thought you were smart. What's happening? Because I mean, I was going through something else at home, and I think it was also affecting my
That's a lot.
like
Mm.
my confidence, or like my ability to study and stuff like that. But like the way that she said that, like acknowledged me in front of a whole class, and
You're
that
like,
made me
girl,
like,
pick up
yeah, I'm
yourself.
that girl. I'm smart, so
I
I will
am.
study. I will make sure that I live up to that standard
Yeah.
based on what she said. So yeah,
That's
Mm,
amazing.
beautiful.
Oh, wow.
Beautiful. Folks,
So, okay. So I didn't have a very like a good teachers. Well, I would say they were good in that like they delivered the content brilliantly. I went to a very good school. But the first time I realized that being good at teaching maths was being competent at maths was in my grade, I think he was my grade 10 and my grade 12 maths teacher. His name was Mr. Mayron. Old dude. He should have, by the time we got to his class, he should have retired like 3, 4 years back. So he was a grumpy, very grumpy old man, white hair, very short, and he'd come into class and he would do nothing but the basics. He would get up onto the chalkboard and he'd be like, "This is TN. This stands for the general term. This is A. A stands for the first term. This is N. This is D." And then he'd explain everything in less than 5 minutes. And then he'll put an example on the screen and then he'll be like, "What is this?" And we'd be like, "The first term." He's like, "Good. A is the first term. Put the number in there." And he would he would explain everything so methodically first time around, and then he'd be like, okay, do this exercise. And then we'd all sit down, and I don't know what it was, but he didn't have to explain any further than that. We all just kind of got it. And, I think that was my first experience of, being a good teacher also means being competent at what you do. You know what I mean? And yeah, like I didn't have a teacher who really like moved me to want to become a teacher. But Mr. Mehring just, I think, I moved from a 60 something. I think I went into grade 10 in a sick with a 67. I ended my matric year on a 94, I think it was, on a 94 average in maths. But it was just because he came to work and he did his job. And so that's what teaching has, become for me.
Nothing
It's
less,
because,
nothing more.
you
Yeah.
know, come to work and do your job. And I see it in real time, like especially where I work now. If the kids feel like, and the kids don't even have to know what you're trying to teach them. They just have to, they can tell in the way that you describe things, in the way that you teach things, whether you know how to do your job or not.
Or
They can
not.
tell.
Yeah.
Like they'll be able to be like, nah, that person's not a good teacher. And it has nothing, to an extent, yes, it has to do with how you interact with the kids, but 90% of the time, it's whether you know your content or
The
not.
delivery of the content.
And you know how to deliver your content. And I learned that from Mr. Mehring. I think he may have passed by now because he was quite old
It was very old. Yeah. Yeah.
when he taught us. But brilliant man, brilliant. I think he used to set the national caps exam for maths.
Nice.
Oh,
Nice.
that's how good he was. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, an old white
Okay.
guy was my favorite teacher of all time.
No, guys, yo, for me, and I think it was last year, the year before, or like 2, 3 years ago, when I then became an intern, and then I tried to go back and find her and whatever. But for me, it was my life orientation teacher. So she literally started as a LO teacher in grade 8. And then she was the person that took us through all the way to matric, because we always say we were the guinea pig of life orientation. So we were the first matric group to actually write the matric whatever. Yeah, that's how old some of us are. Well, that's how old we all are, really, to a great extent. uh, but Mrs. Ziyech, guys, she was like like a very beautiful thick woman, like colored lady, who she and her husband worked at the school together. And she was strict. So firstly, she's the person that taught me what I was talking to you about, Nelokore. I'm not supposed to be your friend, I'm supposed to be your teacher, right? So she was strict, but she gave you this idea of, I'm here for you anytime, any day, but I'm not your friend, right? And then what you're talking about, Coco, this idea that she knows what she's doing. And that's, she made me love life orientation to a point that I don't teach life orientation because I don't know how to teach anything else. I teach life orientation because I understand its purpose, and I've established the relationship that life skills being taught here and having the kids understand it assists in having this child not be a teen mom. It assists with them understanding what an STI is, and it assists with them learning these soft skills of building friendships and knowing what a toxic relationship is, and knowing the difference between a sexual and non-sexual relationship and all those things. So when there was this year, like nearly, and I think it's always grade 11, 10, 11, 12, you just go through shit, right? And I was just sitting there and I'm like, yo, my life is not lifing. And that one day, so because she was a very like very hectic Christian, and I think they were priests with the husband or something, that day she came to class like and made a whole LO class into like a Bible study situation, right? It was like a whole like class. And she brought on screen this verse, yeah, Jeremiah 29 verse 11, like, for I the Lord know the plans I have for you. Guys, that's my favorite verse even now. Like, every time shit hits the fan and I sit and I think about it, and I'm like, yeah, this is not for you, girl. I think about that verse and I'm like, Bona, you got this, you got this. And when I finally got, at that time I had wanted to be a lawyer, and that's the path I was going for. But when I finally started the teaching, I always go back to she's the reason I'm a teacher. Like she made me fall in love with just knowing what you need to do. Like for me, she was an epitome of purpose and passion aligning. You know what I mean? Because I think teaching is a calling, and I think not everyone can be a great teacher because not everybody is called to be a teacher, right? And I think whether that calling comes in a way of I've always known, or it meets you in the way somewhere somehow. When you know how to align the purpose and the passion, then that then becomes the calling for me, right? And when I finally wanted to reach out, guys, and then I found out you passed away, like Buluyaga, I was just like, oh my goodness, like I'm like, I just needed to tell you that I'm a teacher because of you, right? I mean, may her soul rest in peace. But that woman was brilliant, guys. Like I've never seen me who had a thick body, but she dressed like she was fine. This thing, only the skinny bitches can dress well. That woman would rock a heel boot like in winter with the short skirt, but I bet the stockings because she's a respectable lady. And then she'll put
A
on this
mirror.
coat and a scarf, and then she'll put on a beret. Like she was the girl, man. She was the girl. And then I had lipstick. When she's walking on money, she's even commanding the respect. And she had such a thick bass voice that how you will listen.
Hmm.
You will so she's my all-time favorite. I had amazing teachers. I mean, Mr. Daniels just retired recently. He was our business study teacher. He was amazing. We went to a colored school, so we had like colored, black, predominantly black and colored teachers. So I also had my Mr. Dube and Mr. Lamini, those black. And then when we were younger, they were still just straight out of varsity. So they were the cool teachers. But the kick and babosa that made creative arts amazing. Now I literally enjoyed my high school years, man. I think I had the most wonderful teachers one could ever ask for, because even our accounting teacher was brilliant. Given the fact that Nekeba Pala, I think I could have used my opportunities more. But yeah, I really, really appreciated those guys. But if you are still here and you are still watching, we love you. We appreciate you. You are the reason I'm sitting here at back to one with these beautiful queens, guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much, Coco and Nelly Saw for this. By the Chronicles. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. And these two queens are gonna be regulars here because did you see the gold nuggets, guys? Like these are show me your face and I'll show you who you are. You're just so my friend. Like, don't you ever underestimate the belts and the knowledge that this girl comes with because she's with these queens. Thank you so much, beautiful ladies. I
This was
really appreciate
Thank
this.
you for having
I mean,
us.
with you
So
guys, I
fun.
always learn. Huh?
us. Thank you for having us on Bade Chronicles.
Yeah,
Bade,
Yes.
thank you.
Bade. How do you say it? Like, because I feel like when you say
Bade
it, it sounds so
Chronicles.
cool.
So it's Bade Chronicles.
Bade Chronicles. So thank you for
Yeah.
having us. It was
You're
lovely.
Oh my god. And y'all know our conversations always like on Friday we had a 3 hour conversation, guys. Like our conversations
We never
never
finished.
end. You guys, thank you so much. Thank you so much, so much, so much, so much, so much, everybody. Please like, comment, subscribe, and please engage. Tell us what you want to hear about when coming to teaching in South Africa, when coming to studying abroad, when coming to working abroad. We're here for you guys to give you all these golden nuggets. Until next time.
Thank you.